Intel is a mover in a tough tape today, popping on news that the company is guiding revenue to the top half of its range for Q2. Our Deirdre Bose is watching that on today's Tech Check. Hey, Dee.
Hey, Carl, there is that outlook, Carl, which I will get to, but there's another piece of news, too, that I want to first talk about that could prove more significant and has really flown under the radar. Earlier this week in Taiwan, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, he threw Intel a bone. He said that their test chips, quote, look good, and that is noteworthy. It is a small but significant signal to markets that Pat Gelsinger's grand ambitions, his plans to become a player in foundry, the business of manufacturing chips, may actually be working. And the fact that it comes from Huang, an AI kingmaker who can do no wrong in investors' eyes these days, whose advanced chips are leading the generative AI platform shift. That is key here, too. It's a comment that is likely to please investors and lawmakers alike. Intel is, of course, an American company, and as such, it could bring advanced chip making back home, seen as a national security issue, and eventually counter the current dominance of TSMC and Samsung, Taiwanese and Korean companies, respectively. Now, to be clear, all we got from NVIDIA and Huang was a small vote of confidence, and the Journal reported this week that Qualcomm and Tesla, they also explored Intel as a manufacturer, but then they backed off. NVIDIA, though, remember, it is America's most valuable semi-company. We are talking about it day after day. It is, of course, the latest entry to the trillion-dollar club, clear leader in generative AI. So its business may ultimately matter more, and it may pave the way for other companies that are also in sore need of chip supply chain diversification. That is key here, bringing that manufacturing back to America, which Intel wants to do. Also helping shares today, Carl mentioned this, those comments from Intel CFO at a conference over the last few hours. He said that he expects revenue to come in at the higher end of their outlook. He also talked up AI on the product and foundry sides. Intel is the top performer on the Dow today, up more than 3%. It paired some of those gains. But, guys, Gelsinger has had a very tough slog trying to turn around that once mighty company. So this partnership would be significant. That vote of confidence is maybe the best sign so far that Gelsinger has received on those plans.
So do Intel and NVIDIA compete directly? What is the landscape on certain chips?
So Pat Gelsinger at Intel, he wants to create a foundry business. NVIDIA is a chip designer. They design the most leading edge AI chips that are going to be used by many, many companies, big tech. So what Intel wants to do is actually manufacture these chips, and it's basically creating this business from nothing. So it is a very difficult thing to do, especially given all the product delays and challenges that Gelsinger has already had. So they would work with NVIDIA to make those chips. But yes, there's other areas where they could compete. And that's always been a question for this foundry, this manufacturing business. Are the likes of Apple, Google, Meta going to go to Intel when it also competes in certain chips?
Right, because the story with Intel was always that it was giving up market share in chips to companies like NVIDIA and AMD on the competition. Yeah.